say to you guys, I'm really glad you're here. And I've really always, over the years, just absolutely appreciated your love and your commitment to the program and your respect that you've given me and the love that you've shown me, because it's absolutely feel the same way about you guys. So with all that mushy shit out of the way, my friend Lindsay. Oh, wow. Thanks, Carrie. Oh, wow, that is my sponsor. I fucking love her. Excuse me, my language is dreadful. You're going to just have to tolerate me. It does say tolerance up there. I know there's children in the room as well, but I'm just terrible at it.
It's all right.
Anyway, my name's Lindsay and I'm an addict.
Hi, Lindsay.
And I'm so pleased to be here. I love coming to America. I love America. I'm half American, so I've been coming here my whole life, but I've never been to Texas, and it's just, excuse me, it's just so great to be here. It's just like, yeah, WTF, what the fuck happened? So, yeah, my story. What is my story? My story, I'm going to try not to go into my using story so much, not because it was so long ago, because I feel like I'm a whole new human being now. I'm just completely different. Everything's completely different. My life is completely different. I'm kind of, I'm kind of fairly level most of the time. Thank God for NA. Thank God for NA. And I really, really mean that, because I had absolutely no idea how to live before I got here. None. And I was supposed to be like a single parent. I was a qualified nurse. I was like, I was a professional person, but I'd be at work and I'd be all kind of like, this is how we do it and do it all perfectly and properly and da-da-da. And then I'd be home fucking using. On my way home from work, I'd be calling up the dealer and going, what time can I come round? And if this would be 5 o'clock, I'd leave work. And if he'd say 6 o'clock, I'd be like, fuck. And I'd be ringing other dealers to see if I'd get something a bit quicker. But of course,
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was just like, I was so miserable a lot of the time. I kept going through this cycle of like hitting bottom. And actually my first sponsor said to me when I did my first step with her, she said, no, you didn't hit bottom. You got to bottom really early, like when you were about 12, 13, 14. Then you just dragged your sorry ass, along the way. And it really was like that. It was kind of like, I really tried hard to fit into this society. I tried hard to be a productive member of society. Not that I knew what that meant, but I'd really, really tried so hard. And I remember, like, at the end of my using, it was Christmas. I bought my own. My son was about 5. No. My son was about 11 at that point, 10, 11, and it was a really lonely place to be. I bought my own Christmas presents to put under the tree so that my son wouldn't realise that I had nobody in my life. I just had nobody in my life anymore, apart from my using friends. And even that had kind of started to fall away because I liked using on my own. I don't know about anybody else, but I don't like sharing.
Yeah.
I still don't like sharing, We have separate fridges at home. It's about acceptance, accept that I don't like sharing, so it was a really lonely place to be. And I do remember, now I don't know what God is, and I don't I have my own sense of what my higher power is, and I'm okay with that, and whatever yours is yours, and etc. But I just screamed up at the ceiling, and I didn't say help me. I said, what the fuck have you done, putting me on this earth, all right, and look at me. I just want to die. I just want to shrivel up and die. But I didn't have the courage to kill myself. I wanted to kill myself. I remember sort of saying to my son, where would you like to go and live? if anything happens to me. You know, I was kind of making this preparation work to kind of disappear, you know, get off this planet, because I had so had enough. I was done with my life, absolutely done with it. Now, about 10 years previously, I had reached that same place, okay? And I remember, I don't know, oh yeah, I was watching TV. I don't know if any of you guys did this, but I used to watch TV in the middle of the night till about 4 or 5 in the morning, and there'd be things like Prisoner Cell Block H, and what else would be on? And then all those movies that were kind of like about drugs and rock and roll, and, you know, and I used to love all that. And I remember watching this movie about some drug thing going on, and at the end of the film, believe it or not, this thing came up on the screen saying, if you think you have a problem with drugs, right? And the Narcotics Anonymous helpline was there, and I wrote it down. I had this book that I wrote all this stuff in. I used to write all these, like, you know, love poems, but it was all like, woe is me, and isn't life awful, and da-da-da-da. And I do sketches, and, you know, just all that crappy stuff, because I'm a very creative person, you know. And I wrote it in that book. Now, moving forward 10 years, where I was still in that same place, even though I'd probably gone a little bit up and a little bit down, I remember finding that phone number. Because the first time I'd rung it, somebody answered the phone, and they started talking about their cocaine use. Now, I wasn't there yet, so I didn't identify. And I took the address of the meeting, and I just never went. You know, I thought, no, I'm okay. I only do this and that. I'm all right. Even though the psychiatrist had said, you need to stop smoking marijuana. And I said, is it okay if I drink? And he said, yes. So, of course, glug, 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 glug. You know, yeah. Anyway, so I rang the helpline this 10 years later. And I have no idea why. I don't even know. I didn't even know I had a problem with drugs. I really, really didn't. I just thought I had a fucking life problem. And rang the helpline, and the woman on the end of the phone said, if you think you have a problem, then maybe you should come to a meeting. Yes. Now, that was perfect for me, because no one was telling me what to do. No one was telling me that I had a problem. It was just, maybe if you think you've got a problem, you need to go to this place. And she broke the rules, and she gave me her phone number, and she met me at this meeting. She met me at this women's meeting, and they gave me something like this. It's a Narcotics Anonymous basic text. And they wrote phone numbers on the inside. And I was absolutely overwhelmed. And at the end of the meeting, I remember listening to the readings, and the only thing that I got out of the readings at that point, because I couldn't hear anything, was what's that bit about religion, medicine, psychiatry? None of these methods was sufficient for us. That was a light bulb for me, because I'd been to church, you know, and I felt like a really bad apple. I felt like, you know, the minister was talking to me, you're the bad one. I'd been to, I'd been under psychiatrists and medicine. I don't know what the fuck that means, but anyway, I tried all those different kind of things. Well, not tried them, it was just, you know, and nothing really worked for me. And I got to NA, listened to all these people sharing, all these women, and it was so weird. It was like, wow, I identified with something of what everybody said. And at the end of that meeting, I was able to say, my name's Linzie, and I'm an addict. Now, I had no idea what that meant. Absolutely no idea what that meant. The first year of my recovery, you know, I did the service thing. You know, I got my sponsor. I went to meetings, I shared absolutely mad stuff. I mean, like, you know, whatever was in my head just came out. And I really got into service. I think service in NA saved my arse for about the first 5 years of my recovery. Because I don't know about anybody else, but it took me a long time to learn how to work the steps into my daily living. Okay, I'd done steps out of the step working guide and my sponsor, not Carrie, my sponsor would say, now you need to work it into your life. And it's like, well, what the fuck does that mean? Give me a gold star and a red tick, you know, give me my degree paper that I've, you know, answered all the questions correctly. You know, and at the end of that sort of 5-year period, I was desperate again. I was absolutely desperate again, I have to say. I still didn't know how to live. I still didn't know how to work the steps into my daily living. I didn't know how to arrest my addiction. My addiction spun off in all different directions, with sex, with shopping, with food. I used to smoke 60 cigarettes a day. It was like, you might as well be using, man. You know, one after the other. You know, it's like, you know, it was crazy. It was kind of like but that was okay. Do you know what? That was absolutely okay because I wasn't using drugs a day at a time, and I hadn't done that for my whole life. You know, I hadn't. What, age 11 I picked up? It's like I didn't know how to not use and to kind of do things on a daily basis without changing the way I felt, and all my feelings came up, and whoa, it was just like, whoa, what a trip, you know. I mean, really, you know. Being clean was way more of a trip than using ever was. Reality, oh my goodness gracious. And so after some time I did get to that place again. You know, I know some people do say my worst day clean was never worse than, or whatever they say, my worst day using or something like that. No, I wanted to kill myself again. You know, I wanted to die again. I still didn't really know how to live. Okay, and I had all the tools, you know, but it was like I'd collected the tools, but I didn't take them out of the pencil box, you know. And so that's why I was at my home group meeting, Euston, we have a problem. And it was the London Convention, and I didn't have a sponsor at that point. Let me just take a sip of water because my mouth goes all dry. It's horrible. I didn't have a sponsor at that point, and I'd been praying to God. I'd been praying, please find me a sponsor. And for me, it's like this always happens in recovery for me. It's like I have to reach this place of absolute desperation in order for God to provide it for me. I have to really, in my heart, be asking for help, not just giving it lip service of like, go on, help me out, you know, I need help. You know, it's not that. It's like I've really got to be absolutely desperate, and I was desperate to find a sponsor, and I'd asked loads of women, and, you know, women were saying things like, you know, I remember listening to this woman, she'd done a 12-step chair and it was amazing, and I went up to her afterwards and she was like, no, I don't sponsor people, you know, I'm a counsellor, you know. And it was like, you know, and I'd asked all these women, you know, to kind of sponsor me, and then I spoke to God. Me and God came up with this plan that was like, if you can't find anybody by the time the London Convention comes around, you're going to ask this lady, and they'll just take anybody on, you know. And I didn't really want what they had to offer, but you know what, I need a sponsor, so, you know, I can't be choosy. And so I was taking the meeting at my home group, and I came up, you know, to the door, and there was this lady stood there, Carrie. And she was handing out these beautiful little lanyard jewellery things to all her, you're my new friend, you're my new friend. And it was just so, the love that was coming out of her was just phenomenal. And she did this 8-step share, and I was hooked. I was absolutely hooked. And that's exactly what happened. I said, will you be my sponsor? And she said, I would be honoured to. And I was like, wow. So she only had a day left in London, but we went out for something to eat with my crazy sponsee, who did a UE and crashed into the curb and bust her tyre with Carrie in the front seat. I mean, it's like, third step prayer. And thank God for technology as well, because originally it was Skype, now it's FaceTime. There are no borders that can divide us now. There are absolutely none. It's like I can get hold of, I can ring my sponsor and she's there and I can see her and it's like we're in the same room. So it's really not an issue to have, I don't have a sponsor that's way miles away because I don't really want her knowing what I'm doing. This person knows me through and through. She's listened to my 4th step. I've given my stuff up to God. And I've integrated the program into my daily living. What she taught me was how to integrate steps 1 through 12 into my actual daily living. Because I'm going to put my glasses back on, but I have an illness. Okay, you know how they say it can be arrested at some point and then recovery is then possible. I have an illness, and the way I think of it is like a diabetic. If you're a diabetic and you don't get treatment, you're going to really suffer some really horrendous consequences for that. You need treatment, and you'll always need treatment. But in the beginning of when you find out you're a diabetic, I'm not, by the way, but if you find out you're a diabetic and you don't really know how to test your blood sugar, you don't really know how to, but you're having a go, and eventually after, some time you learn how to do it properly and you learn how to keep yourself healthy and happy. But you can't just stop doing that. You will go back, you will revert to how it was, okay? And you will, you suffer the consequences of it. So that for me was a really clear sort of idea, because I'm quite a visual idea person, and I need to kind of like have these kind of analogies to go on in order for things to kind of really sort of like be clear to me, because I couldn't figure out why I had it. What was this disease nonsense? I mean, what is that? For the first year of my recovery, I was in between like, yay, I've got a disease, it's okay, everything I did, it doesn't matter, to kind of like, actually, I'm ashamed, and it's a bit of a cop-out to say I'm an addict, And that first year, because my head was so full of my thinking of addiction, I couldn't suss out that was the disease of addiction. I couldn't see it at all. I'm just going to read this out. It's in chapter 8, We Do Recover. This common illness or disorder is addiction. We know well the 2 things that make up true addiction: obsession and compulsion. Obsession, that fixed idea that takes us back time and time again to our particular drug or some substitute, to recapture the ease and comfort we once knew. Obsession. Whoa, if I get an idea in my head, I want to roll with it. And that's why it's so difficult as an addict to put down drugs. Because all I'm thinking, especially in the beginning, all I was thinking was, I just want to use, I want to use, I want to score, I want to use, I want to score, I want to use. And it filled up my whole head until I'd scored and used, and then it happened all over again. So I still get obsession, but I'm able to recognise it better now. I'm able to recognise it. And I will never be cured of that kind of thinking. It will never go entirely. You know, whether it's because I've become a service junkie or whether it's, you know what I mean? Just there's loads of different things I can put my obsession into. And then compulsion. Once having started the process with one fix, one pill, or one drink, we cannot stop through our own power of will. Because of our physical sensitivity to drugs, we are completely in the grip of a destructive power greater than ourselves. And that, you know, it's like once I've had a drug, it's like I then want, once I start to come off that drug, I want another one. In fact, you know, I mean, I could be rolling a joint, not even a third of the way smoking it, and I will want to roll another joint. And then I will check in my box to see that I've got more joints. You know, it's just like I've got to keep myself in that place of not feeling any discomfort, not feeling any withdrawal, not going through that pain of withdrawal. So, yeah. So in those early days, it was very much a case of I had to pray for the obsession to be removed. That was suggested to me. And I was so desperate, I would have done anything. You know, if you'd have said that to me way before, I'd be like, what are you talking about? But I was just like, yeah, I'll do anything. So when the obsession would come up, I would pray for it to be removed, or I would ring another member, or I would get my ass to a meeting. In the middle of the night, we have 24-hour helpline now, but back when I got clean, I read the stories at the back, because none of that stuff at the front made any sense to me whatsoever. But I had to put something between my obsession and the compulsion. And so that in itself is, you know, the first step. Let's have a look at this. See, I can't remember anything. That's why I need to keep going back. It's true. Can't remember anything. So, how it works. So I on my own am powerless over my addiction. Absolutely powerless over. I'm powerless over my thinking, and it makes me unmanageable in ways that I can't control. So whether it's my thinking, my actions, or my feelings, it's like I just can't control it. Now for me, I usually figure out that I'm unmanageable way before I realise what I'm powerless over. I just do. You know, it's like driving along and like someone, you know, tries to drive into you or something, and it's like, and it makes you feel like, whoa, and I'll go, fuck you, you bastard, what are you doing? And before I know it, I've become unmanageable. My feelings were unmanageable, my thinking's unmanageable, my actions are unmanageable. I'm chasing him down the street, I'm like, you know, yeah, crazy. And then I'll realise, actually, I'm powerless over what other people do. I'm absolutely powerless over that. We came to believe that power greater than ourselves could, it doesn't say definitely, could restore us to sanity. Okay, now working this step, it's really about, again, there's prayer, you know, God, can you remove this crazy ass thinking that's going on in my head? Because that driving up the street happened 3 days ago and I'm still thinking about it. And I still want to kill that man. You know, and it's like I need some relief from that. This is my illness that's going ding, 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 ding. You know, and it's filling up my head to the extent that I cannot, nothing else can come in. So I have to pray. I have to pray for that obsessional thinking to be taken away. And it says could. So sometimes the praying isn't effective enough for me. Sometimes I need to ring my sponsor. And she'll just talk me through stuff. Or I talk to another recovering addict, talk me through stuff, to bring me back to a state of sanity. You know, it's really important. People sometimes miss that second step out. They go from the first half of step 1 to I've done this, the second half to step 3. It's like, I'm powerless. You know, I'll give it to God. They don't recognise the insanity bit in the middle there.
Yeah.
You know, and the unmanageability. Okay, and I have done that. I have been that person. We made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. Now, I understand my God the way I do. Okay, and I'm not here to tell anybody else what their God is about or anything like that. But to me, I have to turn things, people that irritate the shit out of me over to God. I have to do it. I have absolutely no choice. It's like, God, take him or her or it, because it could be the post office or the bank, or God, take this. Why? Because I cannot handle it and you can.
There you go.
Because I can't fucking handle it. I don't know about anybody else, but I can't handle it. It's doing my head in. Now my steps 4 and 5, I did a big long step 4 and 5 with my sponsor for the first bit, but I still work steps 4 and 5 in my daily living. I don't have to write some great big, thing. It's like we made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Well, what is it? I felt this when they did that. My part was I allowed it to happen, or I reacted to it, or I'm too sensitive, or whatever it is. What is my part? I have to find out what my part is. And my part might be very different from how you see your part being. It might be very different, but I can't look at your part. I have to keep the focus on me. We admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. Now, finding out that exact nature is a little bit more difficult, and sometimes I need the help of somebody else to help me untangle that and find out what is exactly at the base of that. In the car when I was driving along, is it that I was frightened? I might have been frightened. That fear that kicks in when somebody tries to, hurt you. We're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. Now, for me, I have to become entirely ready. I can't just be a little bit ready. I have to be absolutely sick and tired of what I'm doing and how I'm feeling and what I'm thinking and where I'm going and da-da-da-da-da-da. I have to be so sick and tired of it. And an example that I can give lately is that, with sponsees, it would be like I'd be hours on the phone sorting all their problems out, being super sponsor, But, it's like my defect of character is maybe I'm rescue ranging. Maybe I'm not allowing that person to grow, So, I have to then put a limit on the amount of time I'm on the phone to them. This is my experience. I'm sharing my experience. This is what I did. If you want to do that, do it. If you don't, that's fine. We'll just go round again. End of conversation. Not endlessly trying to sort everything out for them. But I had to become entirely ready for that. It's taken me years to not be that person. And then humbly asking him to remove my shortcomings. Just because, at the moment I'm quite good with all that, doesn't mean it's not going to come up again. And to be humbly is to know who I am. To absolutely know who I am, what I can put up with, what I can't put up with, what What is me? What can I give? What can I not give? Who am I? How do I react to things? Maybe I shouldn't be around that particular person because they really, really trigger everything in me. And that's okay. That's absolutely okay. Doesn't mean I have to keep going up to them and going, well, I'm going to tolerate you. I'm going to no, maybe not. We made a list of all persons we had harmed, became willing to make amends to them all. So, obviously, I made my list, and I went through it with my sponsor, and there were certain things that were taken off the list because I'm the sort of person that if you step on my foot, I'm going to say sorry. So, I had to go through that with somebody else, with my sponsor, to figure out what was really a harm and what wasn't. And then becoming willing. It was like, well, do I really want to keep walking down the road and avoiding you and not being able to hold my head up high and be the person that I'm meant to be? Do I really want to continue doing that? No, I don't. Made direct amends to such people wherever possible. And I like this next bit. Except when to do so would injure them or others. Others includes myself. Just because I've done some criminal activity doesn't mean I'm going to hand myself into the jail. That's not going to help anybody. It's not going to help me. It's not going to help my family. It's actually going to create more harm. So I have to figure out a way to make restitution. Yeah, make restitution in a different way. Maybe like for example, let's see, one of the things that I did. Oh, okay. As a child, I did a sponsored swim. Okay, and I went round my whole neighbourhood and I picked up all the money for this sponsored swim, and then I never did the swim. And I kept the money. Now that was in my head for years and years and years. It really troubled me. So to make amends, clearly I have no idea who that was, But it's about finding a way of making amends that's going to make me feel spiritually whole again. And so what I did was I actually, we have a NA meeting that is for parents in recovery, and they have a creche. So what I did was I put extra money in the pot towards the creche. And it's like when you're at a meeting and you have children, someone looks after the children in that room out there, and so the parents can be in this room, and but you have to pay the minder. So yes, it's in the UK it's somebody that has to be qualified.
They're a special worker.
Yeah, they're a special worker. Yeah. So that's what I did to make amends. It's like there's always a way round making amends to make myself spiritually feel whole again. And now, so we come to step 10. We continue to take personal inventory. Now, this is where I do it in my daily living. So if I fuck up, excuse my language, I'm going to try not to do that again. Okay, if it's okay, if it bothers me, if it really bothers me, I have to make amends. I was at work, right, and I think the cleaner you get, the more sensitive you get to how you are within yourself, okay? And what happened to me was that I was with a worker who's in the program, and he's a nightmare. And I remember he was asking me to do all this extra stuff on what I was already doing, and I snapped at him. I was like, "No, not doing it. Please just back off, man." And then I went into the tea room, and I felt really. No, you could have acted a bit more appropriately there. You didn't have to snap. And the thing is, right, when I'm making amends, if I don't make amends, that crap will follow me everywhere. In my head, in my heart. I'm like, until I sort it out. So it didn't take me long. I did my steps 1 through 9. And it didn't take me long, maybe 30 minutes, to come back to that guy and say, do you know what, how I spoke to you wasn't, really great, and I'm sorry about that, and I will try not to do it again. It's as simple as that. I've got to clear up my stuff along the way. Otherwise, like it says at the beginning of step 9, this step should not be avoided. If we do, we are reserving a place in our program for relapse. So if I don't clear up this stuff along the way, I'm reserving a place in my program to relapse. Because eventually my head will get so filled up with, avoiding you and not sorting it out with you and not sorting whatever I need to sort out. And eventually I won't be able to handle it. I do know that. Because I've seen it. It might not be my personal experience at the moment, but I have seen it. And that makes it my experience. So we continue to do that. When we were wrong, promptly admitting it. That's kind of good. And then we sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood him, praying only for knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry that out. That is so simple for me. All right? I know exactly what God's plan is for me. It's to stay clean, and it's to help try and carry a message. That is it. It's not about getting that new fancy car. It's not about, it's not about anything else. It's just about staying clean a day at a time, no matter what. What's the name of your meeting?
Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes.
Whatever
it takes to stay clean. And that's God's plan for me. That's it. Anything else? And for me, meditating is, at the moment I'm the speaker, but when I'm in a meeting and I've got my arse on the seat and I'm listening for the answer, I am meditating. Because my head's not all with grocery shopping and da-da-da-da-da-da. I'm actually focused. And when I was a newcomer, I couldn't do that very well. I had to keep going in and out of the room, having a cigarette, da-da-da-da. But as time's gone on, my head's able to listen to about 95% of what's going on. But I still find it difficult when things like, when people are on their mobile phones, for example, right? And this is nothing, do what you want. But I get distracted and I want to look at what's going on. Crack on, love. I just do, there's little things like that I get distracted really easily. Things will keep taking me out that door. I was like that as a child. I'm still like that. Okay, so that's 12. Having had a spiritual awakening. Now I know that my spirit is wide awake. And I love it. I have a fantastic life. I get to travel to Texas. I get to speak at a meeting with people I have never fucking seen before. Except those two. And my spirit is wide awake. I know when I'm doing something wrong. I know when I'm doing something right. My spirit, because for me this is a spiritual program. It's about me healing my spirit. My spirit was broken. My spirit was just like, I did it to myself, but my spirit was just, dying. Now it's wide awake, and I'm so, what are we? We are so lucky. I know you're somewhere up there, you're not supposed to say that, but who cares? I am so lucky that I reckon I experience more living than most of those normal-ish people out there. I am more wide awake, I'm more self-aware, it's like, it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. So, but as a result of these steps, I have to have worked the program. I have to work the program on a daily basis. I have to keep doing this, and I have to keep coming back. tried to carry this message to addicts. Now, I'm not going to carry this message to every single addict, ever. You know, I've just got to have a go. I've just got to have a go at it. And if I get it wrong, I get it wrong. If I get it right, I get it right. If someone gets something, great. If they don't, well, go to another meeting. You know? And to practice these principles in all our affairs. Now, you know, that's a kind of hit and miss thing. You know, I try to do it. I really try. You know, and thank God for the corrective part of this program. And thank God in step 6 or 7, I can't remember which one it is, it says we don't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
You know, that was actually one of my defects, trying so hard to be perfect. You know, no, I can be me, I can be Lindsay, I can be the spirit that I was born into. You know, I can be the happy little girl that I was when I was little and I used to go twirly twirly. You know, I can be free. And I really do feel, even when I feel shit, I've got medical issues. You know, even when I feel really, really isolated and, you know, what have you. And I don't mean isolated in my head or my heart, I just mean physically, because I'd never feel alone these days. Yeah, it's just, and I can't even remember what I was going to say then, that's good. Whoosh, whoosh. And it's time. Thank you so much. I didn't even know how long I shared for, and I'm sorry if I went way over. But thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you.
And here we got you a women's list.
Oh, beautiful.
Everybody's names on it.
Thank you so much. Oh, wow.